Donald Trump is leading in the polls in Florida, and anyone who went to the rally on Saturday knows he is drawing massive audiences. Joining us with more on the is Joe Gruters, who is the chairman of Donald Trump's campaign in Florida and chairman of the Republican Party of Sarasota and vice chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, Rita Ferrandino, who is the treasurer and the former chair of the Democratic Party of Sarasota, and ABC7 reporter Christopher Brantley. Thank you all for joining us. And Christopher, that was an excellent report. Joe, let me start with you. What's your takeaway about Saturday's rally?
Well, it's apparent that there was a lot of energy, enthusiasm, excitement. Obviously, there's nobody in politics like Donald Trump. The guy is amazing. He really knows how to rally the people. I mean, the walk away, when I was talking to the supporters and people that came that were undecided that went to that event walking away, everybody really walked away thinking that this guy is going to be our next president. He is absolutely unbelievable. He's singing the right praises, security, reinvigorating the economy.
Right. Rita, I see you want to jump on this, but Christopher, let me go to you and tell me a little bit about the crowd there. What was the makeup of the crowd?
Well, looking around, kind of taking note, you look around, you try to see the faces of people, and you try to see, why do you think everybody's there? You saw a lot of white, middle-aged to older people, very enthusiastic, as Joe said. You didn't really see a huge diversity. I did note that.
Is that a problem? I mean, Trump is polling 25 to 30% nationally at this point, which may be good enough to win the Republican nomination, but is it good enough to win the presidency?
Well, I've got to just say that the Democrats and the Democratic Party just want Donald Trump to keep talking. We were here in Sarasota. The carnival was in town. I mean, we had elephants that arrived. There was a helicopter giving helicopter rides to kids, and it was a big entertainment spectacle. But I think here in Sarasota, Sarasotans are sophisticated and care about really understanding public policy, and I think what many of the people that I know that attended and talked about was there was no discussion about substantive public policy issues by Donald Trump.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what he did say. And Mr. Trump talked again about his comments that have gotten a lot of consternation about the reaction of Muslims in the wake of 9/11. Let's play a little piece of that.
15 years ago, because I talked about Muslims that were celebrating over in parts of New Jersey. Okay, so I made the statement. I didn't think it was a big deal because I thought everybody knew. And by the way, everybody admits worldwide the Muslims were absolutely going wild.
Joe, let me ask you about that, because he started saying this about a week ago. Demonstrably, this did not happen, at least in the fashion he says it did domestically. He's talking about New Jersey. There was an interesting quote in Politico the other day where it talked about Trump and Carson's lies. It says, on the other hand, they come from a land of bull something. That is a wonderful place where you lose the facts and wishful thinking mate to produce a quotable soundbite. They are not trying to deceive you in a Clintonian fashion. They're indifferent to the truth and content to say the first things that pop into their mind. You can see the strategy at work with Trump's story about Muslim Americans. Are you concerned that it's going to come to a point that he is going to say something, dare I say, so outrageous that it's going to impact the chances he has in the general election, should he get that far?
I think that the Washington Post article has proven that there were Muslim Americans cheering in New Jersey. Certainly across the world there were people cheering. And really, when you look at some of the people on Twitter and from New Jersey that talk about this, and some of these other news agencies, this happened.
It did not happen to the degree he says it happened. I mean, 9/11 was pretty well documented in terms of being on television. Everybody still had video cameras back then. There were not large crowds in New Jersey.
There were Muslim Americans cheering when 9/11 happened in America, and it's unfortunate. And this goes to the greater issue of security, and this all came up obviously because the Syrian refugees, and the question is whether or not we should let these refugees in our country without a proper vetting system, which the national director of the FBI said can't happen. You know, the question is do we let them in? No.
But there again, he says that we're going to let some 200,000 Syrian refugees into the country. Nobody is talking about that. And Rita, let me ask you.
Well, and there's many of these issues that continue to come up where Donald Trump and Ben Carson are saying outrageous things that are controversial, that are causing great things to be stirred up that don't have factual basis.
But
and this is just one of many.
But let me ask you this. To this point, it has not hurt him in terms of Republican primary voters. So does it matter?
Well, again, the Democratic Party just wants Donald Trump to keep talking because the electorate that's interested in being a primary voter for Donald Trump do not represent the voters of the country. And so you're looking at a very small, slim slice of the big Republican field. When you go to a general election, you've got to be talking to the entire country. You've got to be talking to independents and Democrats and moderate, reasonable Republicans who care about substantive policy issues.
In
Joe.
every poll across the country, every state poll in the Republican primary, certainly Donald Trump is beating Hillary Clinton right now in national polls 46-41. The public is tired of the political rhetoric we're getting out of the politicians in D.C. Hillary Clinton's going to provide another 8 years of Obama. People are tired of it. People want to hear the truth. They want to hear a straight talker, and that's why people like Donald, because nobody's going to.
They want to hear the truth and want to have
nobody is going to buy Donald Trump. He's self-funding his campaign,
and I'm going to
Hillary
argue
Clinton's
about
a puppet of the special
Hillary Clinton not being able to beat Donald Trump because she can.
Okay, but let me ask you this, and I'll direct it your way, Christopher, because another poll came out the other day in terms of truthfulness and temperament. And while people do say that Donald Trump is more truthful than Hillary Clinton, they do say that Hillary Clinton has a better temperament than him in terms of the latest polling. Christopher, what do you see in the community where we live and work in terms of what is important to people?
I think if you walk around downtown or you go to one of these rallies, you see what really concerns people is the main issues. And a lot of what we saw, on Saturday was a big spectacle. It was a very big show. He's a master showman coming in on the helicopter. But I think a lot of people are really concerned about the issues themselves. And I'd be really interested to hear more.
And they want to hear our politicians talking about real substantive reasons.
And that's why Donald is winning.
And
Donald is winning every poll across the country.
We have only about 30 seconds left, but I want to get to you. He's massively ahead in the Florida poll amongst Republican candidates. How important will the Florida primary be, not just to Trump, but to Rubio and Jeb Bush?
Donald Trump is going to win here in Florida. It's going to be the end of the race for all the other Floridian candidates, and I think it will be the final nail in the coffin. Donald Trump is going to take that momentum, and he will become the next president of the United States. So
my question is that Joe Gruters, the chairman of the Republican Party of Sarasota, saying that, or is that the...
All right, we got to leave it there.